Hey folks, Phil Davis, Ancestry Lands, ancestrylands.com. Coming to you today. It's a little rainy out here on the East Coast this morning, and it's been raining. This is what it looks like driving in the wet early morning commute. So we got a lot of things going on today. One thing that I'm surprised about is hearing about the stock market or the market itself demanding interest rate cuts. I've had a conversation with some of my friends, and I hear them telling me, "Oh, we're expecting interest rate cuts." And when I look at Fed Chairman Jerome Powell's conversations, I, it seems like the market's telling the Fed what to do, and I have to wonder if the Fed does cut rates. Does that indicate that we are in a recession? They're admitting it. They're panicking it, as opposed to the market deciding what the Fed should do in order to make the market profitable. And it's something that even, while I'm at work, the common discussion is just not there. I work with a lot of nurses, people who make good money, people who are quote unquote intelligent, people smart, people can save your life. But when it comes to things that matter towards their finances, people are not in the know. They don't watch these things. It's not conversations they have. And you would think people would, when decisions like this directly affect their purchasing power. It directly affects their financial situations. So, for me, when I'm engaging in a relationship, and this is for a lot of young men out there and women too, who are looking for relationships, you can find to filter people by having conversations of things that really matter. Talking about interest rates, talking about finances. And I've had this conversation before on this channel. But when you're looking to make a family, when you're looking to date, when you're looking to marry, these things are going to come up, and they're going to have a direct correlation with the health and wellness of your relationship. Money, people say money doesn't make you happy, but when your wife can buy a lot of things in life and she's not restricted with purchasing power, you're going to have a different kind of wife than someone who is dating a broke man. The world has no love for a poor man. It has no patience for him. It has no sympathy for him, because why is it that men who are poor or homeless are generally, there's a greater population of men who are poor or homeless? If that was so true, you would not have a higher ratio of homeless men to women. The programs that are awarded by government are heavily in a woman's favor. And there's nothing wrong with that, but you just got to understand the lay of the land. So it even is incumbent upon women to do their due diligence, do research, and make sure that you have knowledge of this information, these conversations. So when you are vetting men for potential husband positions, when you're looking for someone to lead your family, your decision needs to be based off more than their looks, their bravado, their machismo, and a host of other things that really don't damn it matter. A man's worth is in his ability to provide, to protect, and bring provisions to the table. And all three need to be of some measure above 30% in all areas. You don't have to be the biggest guy. You don't have to have muscles, but you do need to know how to have firearm protection, or even some sort of fighting skills to be able to defend. You got to be able to provide in the sense that you are able to, wow, that car looks messed up. Goodness gracious. You're able to provide for your family, meaning that you have a salary that is big enough to support the family that you have. Your wife working should be optional financially. I didn't say she shouldn't work. It should be optional, meaning that you're not requiring her income to keep you all afloat. You don't need her income to provide Nike Air Jordans. Now, some people don't have this situation because their wife's the breadwinner, so just inverse it. But at the same time, when a man wants to lead, there is a responsibility for that leadership. And this is my point of view. I could give a damn if you agree with it or not. But in 9 times out of 10, we see biologically women will want a man who makes more than them in the long run. They I've seen so many women talk about how they provided for men who make less than they do, and then they end up, and I'm talking about nurses. I work with nothing but nurses, female nurses, for years, and they will date, impregnate, and get pregnant by a broke guy, and eventually later on, 4 or 5 kids later, even in their older age or younger age, they still will end up wanting a man that makes as much, if not more, than them. Now, are they going to get it? I don't know. I'm not here to bash them for their decisions, but I'm just talking about that a lot of times the broke man will end up losing a woman in the end. That cop, who is he picking up, huh? This is the 76 or blue line. We're right next to the actual Schuylkill River, and this area is laden with traffic. It's one of the banes of my commute to work, but it also has a silver lining in the fact that I do get to provide you all with contents, commentary, and thoughts, my thoughts throughout the day as I travel to and fro. And I want you all to look at the seasonal changes, because you will see year after year the changes that the East Coast goes through. And I lived on many different coasts. I live on the Southwest. I was raised in the South, or born in the South, temporarily raised in the South, lived in the Northeast, which I'm back to now, and lived on the South, the Western coast, Northwest, and in Northern California. So I've seen all the different climates, with the exception of the Midwest and the Southeast. I haven't lived in the Florida, Georgia, that lower region, to be able to show you what weather is like. But when I go back to the markets and the interest rates, the conversations I talk with nurses, that they can tell you all about kidney disease or bronchitis, pneumonia, vaccinations, and a litany of other things. But when it comes to finances, they're not in the know. And I generally do see that they do not have superior purchasing power because of it. It's a lack of knowledge. I don't want to know. And I just wonder, then who is supposed to carry the know-how? Because every person is directly affected by this. And when they are affected by it in their household spending, in their purchasing power, and the price of goods and services coming up or being more inflated in costs, they either have to commit themselves to working more, working longer hours, to make sure that they can afford that living. And it creates a snowball effect of pressure, of responsibility and stress on a woman. And or for the household, it creates arguments. It creates a lot of problems that are simply because there's a lack of knowledge in how to prepare for that time when those markers hit. Not being able to read the tea leaves, if you will. Because that doesn't mean you need to be an economist. But again, who has the responsibility for leading, for understanding these things? Who understands when you are going into a recession? Because again, one in my 20s, when we went through the Great Recession, I could have joined everyone with buying houses for 0% down, like they're doing now again. So less than 20, almost 20 years later, I've lived long enough to see the cycles start to return. And one of the things I stopped myself in just doing that is because once you get hooked on the drug, once you get hooked on the debt game, the endless debt, you stay hooked on. You don't know when to get off, and you need more and more to satisfy that. There's very few restraint or restricting, or we call it control, going on. People abstaining from things, resisting it, cutting, making budgetary cuts. And because it requires you to do without for a while. It requires you to walk around and see other people doing with while you're doing without. And that bothers people a lot. It hits their ego. And maybe that's what we're hitting on. You cannot let your ego damage your financial situation, because finances is a long game. Realistically, 20-year-olds need to think of their 60-year-old self, and that's what they're working towards getting. Because at your 60-year-old self, wherever you are at that point in life, you now have to ride pretty much your end of life from that point on with your financial situation that you've amassed up to that point. Do you have IULs? Do you have life insurance? Do you have whole life insurance? Did you put things in place to make sure that you are taken care of when you get to the age where you cannot work, or will you become a Walmart greeter working for pennies on the dollar? Trying to go and work just so that way you can have health benefits because you did not prioritize this information in your 20s. You spent your time listening to drill rap, you spent your time doing other things and ignoring what is yet to come in your life. So when it comes time, everybody thinks Social Security. Now we're at the part, like my parents are looking at almost retiring. Now we're at the part where people got to make a decision. People will be going into retirement and they will experience before they die a change in Social Security. It could be sooner than later, but they're ignoring the $35 trillion of debt that we got into. They're done and tired with working, but you might live another, from let's say 65, 66, you might live another 20 something years. If we look at when you had your parents, if they are alive or not, if they're still alive, you're going to live another 25 years with no income coming in. You have no ability to make more money. You have no ability to work overtime. You have no ability to keep a check coming in to diminish that. So you could be 20 years in, and in the last 5 years, it gets rough for you. And the attitude that, well, you'll just deal with it then, it will not serve you in the 20th year where it matters. The attitude in the 20-year-old that is not preparing for it, the daughter that is not being raised to understand that these things are going to be markers that she needs to look for in a man. She needs to look to have that conversation. This needs to be a monthly discussion, that she should be sitting down with the man and they should be going over their financials every month, seeing if they're ready for marriage and a family, because they're looking at and working together towards their financial goals. They're looking at their expenses. They're looking at what they make, and they're making decisions based off of a spreadsheet, whether that be digital or paper. They're having financial conversations when they make purchases, and they understand budgets that they should not go over and set limits each month. It is not hard to do. What is hard is to get yourself to the table to be able to do that and make that consistent every month. But that is what is required to start to build a foundation for raising a family. Because again, you liking and loving a person, those days will be highs and lows, to the days where you still need to do the finances and make sure that your children are fed, to make sure that your children have a good education. Because your children are not in your relationship, they are a part of it, an extension of it, and they will directly be affected by the outcomes of your relationship and your finances at a greater extent. Your ability to help your children in their adulthood will be somewhat predicated on your financial relationship in your 20s, 30s, and 40s while you're building that up until your children get out of the house. That's why you see a lot of wealthy families giving their children homes or buying homes or giving them the down payment now, where these families are able to get into, home ownership, even then they don't require it. I mean, not require it. They don't qualify for themselves independently. And there's nothing wrong with that. That actually is the cheat code to life, because wealth is not supposed to be hoarded. It's supposed to be inherited, because the name of the family is what's supposed to matter most. And we got away from that, and we took pride into our own achievements, our own accomplishments, and we didn't think of, we were taught now to teach or get our kids to the point of 18 and you're on your own. And my question is, okay, well, that's fine. But when you get older, don't forget you're on your own too. When it doesn't work out for you, make sure that attitude, like they say in the younger generation, make sure that smoke, that energy stays the same. Make sure that when the people you turn your back on today may be the people that you need tomorrow. And you're not accounting for that component. Oh my goodness, look how bad these. Oh gosh, that is so much potholes. I don't. One thing I'm going to say about this, man. How in the hell have we not gotten past the point where we could get a road built up? I mean, you talk about Roman times. Romans could build roads in less than a year. A whole road. They didn't have no machinery. They had people and oxen. Why does it take so long to get a road built? Wow, shithead. Okay, I guess we just fucking cut in front of me. No problem. You need to get over, so the best thing you could do is go on the right. You pass on the right. What a okay. I'm gonna try to keep it clean. Here's another asshole. I'm trying to merge over left. I mean, just right into me. Just who cares, right? Like no, nothing, right? It doesn't matter, right? All tense, complete tense. So I know the I'm gonna speculate on the race of that person driving. More than likely. Any which way. Something to think about though. And when you're looking at raising a family, you're looking at starting a relationship, you got to get past the looks and the night entanglements, if you will. You got to look past your night pleasures in order to see that 5 years from now, you're not going to be in deep in love the same way you are today. Things are going to fade or level out. You can have a baseline love for a person, and there's nothing wrong with that. But then the finances got to matter. The bills will come in, the rents do, the interest comes, the property taxes increase. The woman is no longer, she didn't had a baby. She doesn't look the same. You're eating what she eats. You don't look the same. And now you're dealing with two people who, do you like each other? And if you don't, can you still find a common ground on what you're building? Because if you're building something together, you're going to stay together because of what you're building. A lot of people don't make it even that long because what they built is love and looks. It wasn't based off anything other than what the gratification of the body could be satisfied at that moment in time. So you got to dig deeper, or you got to want deeper, or the only thing you're going to get is something on the surface. You're going to get surface love. You're going to get a surface relationship. You're going to make commitments, and you're going to be betrayed because you went deeper than what was required. You didn't stay at the surface. You decided to overcommit. But your finances are going to be forever. Your financial obligations are going to be forever. This is not a case for not getting married. This is a case for both men and women to start having conversations to understand that when you separate a household, you destroy your wealth. You don't get to just rise back up. Very few people are doing it. And look to your environment, look to your immediate area to see where are you seeing people have those greater outcomes, and are they long lasting or short serving. This is about leadership mindset, because when you own real estate, when you own a house, when you own land, there is a responsibility to ownership. There is a responsibility to teach your children to avoid becoming debt ridden and debt laden. And now we see with the $5 trillion of credit card debt that people are in, that people are not teaching their children good financial habits. And what you're doing is making sure your kids become part of the future $15 trillion of people in credit card debt, the people that are over leveraged in homes. The banks are going to keep taking money and taking advantage of people like that. And those are your children that you're pushing right into the debt slave farm to be slaughtered. So the wealthy can stay wealthy. You can't keep complaining about wealthy and the 1% when you're feeding them and bringing them all the offerings. You're making them wealthy by not changing your mindset or your daily habits. And it starts at home. Just like discipline starts at home, wealth habits and wealth mindset and wealth conversations start at home. You know, one thing I don't have with my parents a lot is financial conversations. That's something as parents, it's something when I'm a parent, it will change. I will never stop having financial conversations with my children until the day I die. I will never stop helping them in their finances to become more financially astute until the day I die. Your job as a parent is to keep on making sure your family can thrive into the future past your lifeline, your timeline of being alive. Or else you're just forgotten throughout history. All you were was an egg carrier or a donor, a genetic donor, to get to the people who really matter down the line. So, folks, I'm going to say that get your mind, your wealth habits. If anyone needs consulting or needs to have financial conversations, I will do the first conversation for free to analyze how we attack and approach your conversation. If you're married and you need counseling on how to run and operate a family, how to look at resources, how land can help for you, please reach out to me. My social media connections are down. You can always reach me at phdavis@ancestrylands.com. I hope you've been educated, enlightened, entertained, folks. Phil Davis, Ancestry Lands. Ancestrylands.com is where you go to find property. Make sure you own property or you'll be owned as property. Phil Davis signing off. Peace.
Are you confused with today's real estate market? With high interest rates and overpriced housing, it can be hard to find something to own at the right price. Available on Amazon, Getting Dollars from Dirt by author Philip H. Davis is a game-changing book that invites you to embark on a thrilling exploration of this often overlooked asset class. This book is your roadmap to unlocking the secrets of vacant land investment. Inside these pages, you will uncover the transformative power of vacant land as a wealth-building tool. Discover how to spot promising properties, assess their true value, and capitalize on market trends. From understanding zoning and permits to leveraging financing strategies, you'll gain the knowledge and confidence to make savvy investment decisions. With each page you turn, you'll gain a deeper understanding of the profound impact your investments can have on the world around you. Getting Dollars from Dirt is not just a guidebook, it's a call to action. Whether you're a seasoned investor or a curious novice, this book will empower you to tap into the immense potential of vacant land and embark on a journey toward financial freedom and a brighter future.